contractor versus employee, right? I think everybody understands, you're an employee of a company, but if you're a field landman, a lot of field landmen are independent contractors. And so maybe can you just give a real high level explanation of the difference and what governing for purposes of regulation and, legally binding things, what bodies govern that, who defines that or sets the definition that's applicable for us to be
Sure.
concerned with?
Sure. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit here just about how the IRS defines folks as either an employee or independent contractor. I think for most of us, if we're working for somebody, we're getting a W-2, we know we're an employee and we never question it. And we're not going to focus a whole lot on those of you that are W-2 employees right now, but we are going to focus on those where you're trying to decide, or maybe you've already decided you want to be independent, you want to be self-employed. And what really kind of controls or defines your relationship with working as an independent contractor. Like the things to keep in mind is if you're an independent contractor, you're controlling the work that you do, you're controlling when you're doing that work, you're controlling how much you're billing for that work and how you're getting paid for that work. And generally speaking, your contracts that you have with others for that work indicate that you are working for yourself, and that you can choose to work for one company, 15 companies, and those can change all the time. Really, as an independent contractor, you can't have one other entity that tells you how, when, where, how much, and provides you with all the stuff you need to do your job.
To do it.
So.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at working with another company to provide them with landman services, I've seen stuff every once in a while that gets people going the wrong direction, where they give you effectively a non-compete clause in there, where they only want you to work for them, and that's probably a sign that you're headed in the wrong direction if you're really trying to be an independent contractor, self-employed.
Yeah.
And where people tend to get sideways with this is, like, it's not that first person, like you go out there, you start your own, you work for you don't have anybody else working for you. So you're enjoying the diversity of working with 10 different people on whatever projects you pick and choose for your schedule. It's when you decide that you get too busy, now you need to hire another one or partner with somebody else. This is where that kind of comes into play a little bit more. You get that first person you need to work with you on your team. And you need to understand, am I hiring a contractor like I was potentially, right? Or like you are to now, or am I hiring an employee? And if I'm giving them their laptop and all their software and I'm paying all their licenses
And I'm making them show up at the office.
That's right. They're coming to my office on my time frame and I'm giving them all the work they need. You've hired an employee. You haven't hired an independent contractor.
Yeah. Whatever you call them is irrelevant. So let's, you touched on the kind of the important things. It's how you treat the person that defines from an IRS standpoint and Department of Labor standpoint, how you treat that person is what truly defines them in the eyes of these governing bodies that we all have to follow the rules by. So,
right. And your risk as a self-employed person, really from the IRS's point of view, where they've gotten more aggressive is they like to pursue payroll taxes. So if you hire an independent contractor, and for example, where we see this really get sideways is you've hired an independent contractor and they don't pay their taxes. So the IRS notices them and starts looking into, the income they make and notices that it's all coming from you. If they determine that person should have been an employee of yours, right now you're on the hook for all those payroll taxes that you should have paid according to the IRS. Yeah. And even if you win that process, right, it's an expensive process to go through, especially when we start talking about payroll taxes.
Yeah. They're going to follow the money, right? And the burden of proof is on you as the person who has hired a group of people or have a group of people working. So if you're a broker, big or small, it's upon you to convince them that these are not employees. And so there's a number of things that you can do to establish that, to clearly define that. And God, we can unpack that in a lot of different ways. And I think it's probably a good segue is, with our business with Dudley Land and other brokerage firms out there, we require independent contractors to truly act as independent contractors. They're not provided an office space. They're not provided, training or anything like that. We don't require that they work for us exclusively, but they have to sign an agreement, right? That says, hey, I'm an independent contractor. I can come and go as I want and do it as I please. But we do have a contractual relationship, like you would hire a plumber or hire a general contractor to build your house. Same kind of concept there.
Yeah, and of course, like the contracts are important. I'm not saying you shouldn't have one. Just keep in mind what they say and who they're with.
Exactly.
Right. A lot of this, like we just advise folks a lot of times to, it's a little easier to prove this point when the people you're working with are working under their own entity versus just working under as, Josh Mullins CPA or Josh Mullins landman, right? Like if I have an entity that I'm working as a part of, then I'm starting to make the case that I don't work as an employee of yours.
Exactly.
That I'm over here working for me.